So I am going to here, and now since I have already registered something, I will just go and say here, go to either you can say my account or login. You can just say click here my account. Okay. So if you have previously logged in, it will show you, otherwise it will say sign in. So here you have to put the email address which you have registered earlier and the password. So let me just show you the account which I have created myself, and I will use that email ID and password for that purpose. So let me just show you here. So basically I am just entering my AWS account user ID and password, our secure server. So this brings to the Amazon Web Services dashboard. Now here what you will see is that it says that you have signed up for these are the various services called CloudFormation, CloudFront, Cloud Search, CloudWatch, DynamoDB, EC2, MapReduce, Elastic Cache, Glacier, Mechanical Turk, Relational Database, S3, SES, SNS, SQS, S3, SWF, SimpleDB. So many of them. Okay. So basically what I am trying to say is that Amazon Web Services is a collection of services. It is not just one service or something. So AWS is Amazon Web Services. So there are a lot of services offered by Amazon which helps you to solve a lot of your hosting and computation challenges. So there are a lot of challenges and problems and requirements when you have a large amount of servers to host, manage, monitor and control them. So all of them can be solved, those problems, by using one of these services or a multiple combination of these services. Now it is asking that some of the services I am not signed up for, and that is infrastructure services to your account. Basically it says that there are some services, specialized services which I am not, which is fine, and then I have not purchased even the support, but because I am just learning, so I don't care. Okay. Now these are the list of services. If you want to go into any particular service in detail, you can click it here and you can go. Let us assume I want to find out what is about this simple queue service or simple storage service. You can click here and it will take you to the home page of that particular service. So on this page you will find out all the details about S3 Amazon service, Amazon simple storage service. So basically S3 comes from 3S, 1S, 2S and 3S. So this 3S becomes S3. So that's what the naming convention is. And you can learn a lot about this service. What are the functionality of this service? How it helps to protect your data? What is the pricing of this service? How can you get started with S3 like you want to use S3? But how to go? So you can read about this. So this is the complete documentation and guide for reading about what are the common use cases, what resources you need, and Amazon S3 design requirements, intended use and restrictions. Okay. How can you transfer large amount of data in using S3? So if you want to use the Amazon S3 web service or Amazon S3 service, you should read all of this and then go from there. Let me go back to our home page of Amazon Web Service, AWS. This is here. In the same way, you can read about all of these services one by one, and it is not very complicated. Amazon has tried to make these services pretty simple and straightforward, so it shouldn't have so much of a trouble. So I would think that it is not much to this. So just go and read about these services one by one and it should be fine. Now next thing is that if you want to understand about your personal information, security credential, usage report, how much you have used the system, what is the billing alerts, billing preferences, all of that about your account is provided here very nicely in this home page of Amazon Web Services. So this is a kind of a AWS home page for a account holder. Now next thing is that how do I use them actually, and that is where I will go and click something called AWS Identity and Access AWS Management Console, and that is where this guy is important. So every time you want to really do something, you will go here. If you want to learn something, you will come here. So just remember, AWS Management Console is the point where I will go and actually do something. So let us go and do. So I will go to the console called AWS Management Console by clicking here. So the moment I click here, it takes me to this one, AWS Management Console, and it tries to give me a web-based interface to manage your services, making AWS simpler to access and use, and all of these things. So what you can do is that you can sign in to the AWS console. So I will go ahead and I will say, okay, go to the AWS console. Now the moment I said that, it didn't ask me any other user ID and password. It's just saying that I am going to AWS console. Once you log into Amazon Web Services, sign in, first time user ID and password, you can come to this console anytime. And this is the most important console which you will be using. Now there are two ways you have to work around. So it has a lot of web services. So Amazon Web Services are this area. Okay, so let me just give you a quick rundown of this one. So this complete thing is called Amazon Web Services. These are the various Amazon Web Services. These Amazon Web Services has been categorized into various groups, and these groups are first related to compute and networking. This is called compute and networking related services. Here you have Direct Connect, EC2, Elastic MapReduce, Route 53, VPC. These are the services we'll understand. Related to storage and content delivery, there is another service group of services which Amazon offers called CloudFront. Basically, it is a CDN service by Amazon. Like Akamai and other, they have a CDN service. There is a Glacier, archive storage in the cloud. So sometimes you want some data to be stored, but you never use it. Like once in 2 years you will use it, or once in 3 years you want to use it. So just for archival purpose. So that solution and service is called Glacier. S3 is a very scalable, large amount of data storage in the cloud. And then there is a storage gateway, which helps you to integrate your system with S3 in a much more easier way. Next solution or services from Amazon in Amazon Web AWS service is group is called database. In that, it provides a lot of different solutions and services in cloud computing, and one of them is called database group. And here you will have DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, it is an in-memory cache, RDS, it is relational database system. So using this service RDS, you can create MySQL database in cloud, you can create Oracle database in the cloud, you can create SQL Server in the cloud. So if your applications need database in the cloud, you can create all those kinds of a database using this service called RDS. DynamoDB is another kind of a storage mechanism database, and it is a NoSQL data storage, generally used with some of the latest computing paradigm like Hadoop and other applications, frameworks. So if I are using Hadoop, you can use this ready-made DynamoDB, which is a NoSQL database. Other option is that you can also use in-memory cache, and that is Elastic Cache is another service which helps you to create a small amount of database in memory itself for caching purpose, which helps the application to become run fast, right? So we have seen that there is a compute and networking. First was compute and networking, and then we have seen storage and content delivery, then we have seen the database. Now let us see one which is deployment and management. Now how to do the deployment and management of all my servers? For that they have given good number of services. If you have in your company, let us assume that you have 20 people and there are 2000 servers, or let us assume 200 servers. Which person with what access, what he can do on which server, and all of this will requires quite a good amount of, quite a good configuration or access management system. Otherwise you cannot provide access to various users, to various servers for various kinds of tasks. So for all of that purpose, to manage your servers, Amazon provides some web services or tools you can call, which we put in the category called deployment and management web services. One of them most important, which I use very frequently, is this one, in identity and access management web service. This is used very frequently. These also you can use, but this is one which is used very frequently. Now next one is app services. There are some services which are themselves an application which you just use that as an input output, and that is called app services itself. So cloud search, you can provide a search services. If you want to your application to use some kind of a service for sending email, you can use this SES, push notification service, message queue service, and workflow service for coordinating application components, so SWF. Now there are good number of these services which are provided by Amazon. Now how do I use each one of them? So what I will go and do is that I will start using one of them. So let us assume and click anyone, and now you can access this through here as well. So either you can do it like this from here, you can do it from here like this. Computing and networking services, storage control, database, deployment, here, console home. Okay. So it is all up to you how you, and you can edit the shortcut. So if you want to drag it, this one, let us assume I want to drag this one to here because I use this. So it is just a way of convenient way of putting this thing. Okay. Now every time I log in, I don't have to go here, search for here, or I do here or do it. I will just go and see here. So let us start with a service called EC2. Now I want to use a service called EC2. What is EC2? What is S3? All of those things, first somebody has to understand about them, get a clarity and understanding before you go and work on them. So this was the basic of Amazon EC2, and this screen is taking time to show up, so let us give it a second. Now we will discuss about, let us see EC2. Here it brings the dashboard of a particular service called EC2. Like this, every service will have its own dashboard. As it says, if you see here, it says that EC2 dashboard. Okay. So this is what is important, and in this one it will, you can manage what are the various EC2 instances, what are the spot requests, reserved instances, AMI, bundle tasks. Now all of these might be little confusing and overwhelming for you right now. What we are going to do is that we are going to understand about various services of Amazon. What are the various services? Let us see that console home. Okay. Here what we are going to understand is that first we will understand about each of these services. Each of these services in brief. I will explain you what is EC2. I will explain you what is S3. I will explain you what is RDS, the basic concept. I will also give you a good idea about what is Elastic MapReduce, Cloud Formation, Cloud Watch. I will give you an idea about IAM, email service, messaging service and all. Once you get a brief idea about this, you can start using each one of them one by one. Most of the time what we use is EC2, this one. 90% of the people these days use EC2 and S3. So these are the two most widely used web service, Amazon cloud services. So if you have to learn about, I would suggest that learn detail about EC2 and S3, and others you can slowly pick up and learn about them. So that is the very basic idea about this. Now we'll go and learn about EC2. So in EC2 what happens is that the concept is that in cloud computing it will give you a small server for you to work with. So it lets you create your own server with the operating system what you want, with the kind of a hard disk and RAM which you want, and the kind of security you want. So basically it is a mechanism. EC2 is a service by which you can create your own server in the cloud and use it for your purpose. Okay. So let me just go and discuss about some of these services, and I will come back to this console and we'll see how to do about this to our presentation.